Today in the pedal vault, the Lichtlaerm Audio Medusa. Before we start, a little disclaimer here. This pedal was given to me by Daniel. I didn't have to pay any money and I think I can keep it. Hi Daniel. However, every word is my own and Daniel did not see the video until this very moment. So he didn't see it before it was released. So I can say whatever I want. And here we have the pedal itself, and let me tell you this is packed full of stuff and features. It's Lichtlaerm's first original try on the HM2. The predecessor, the Breathe Die, was basically a collaboration with some local band out of Berlin, and this is now Daniel's try. And what do we have? Well, basically everything. We have a gain control, which has 2 times more than the original HM2. We have a level control that is 3 times more output than the HM2. We have a cut. This is before the gain stage, so you can tighten up your signal. Then we have a 4-band EQ. Low and grind are our typical HM2 controls for the low peaks and the high peaks. And we have an additional presence control, a high shelf, and then we have a mid control that is parametric. We can choose with the mid frag. In the manual it says that this goes from 200 to 700 Hz, so it's right around the EQ range we wanna tackle with the mid control. Then we have a gate. This is based on the Lichtlaerm key and gate, so it's one of the best out of the market. We have a blend that lets us introduce some clean blend, or the blend from the pedal that we are hooking up in the FX loop of this pedal. We have a polarity switch that lets us flip the polarity of the clean signal or the signal of the pedal. And here we have another toggle. It switches between modern distortion and classic HM2 saturation, so this basically affects our gain structure. Okay, and we have some awesome artwork with Medusa. And with this being said, let's head over to the EQ curve. Activated. So for the EQ curve, we have to set blend to full so that we just have the Medusa signal. First of all, level. We have some headroom here. Okay, let's leave it at noon. Gain doesn't affect anything. Modern with a volume boost, so this generally means that it's less compression. Okay, let's leave it here. Then we have cut. As you can see, very subtle cut on the low frequencies. Now low. Typical HM2, it's around 100 Hz. Grind. Typical HM2 control. Presence, high shelf, stated, and then we have the mids. So let me actually leave it here. So when we are at noon, we are around 220, 250, and we can actually go lower to about 180. And we go up to 700, maybe 800 Hz. Okay, so very close to the range that's stated in the manual. Okay, now let me quickly dial in very bass heavy sound, basically like this. And now let's have another look at the cut control. And here you can see what it does. It reduces the boost, but there still is a boost. Okay, the gate is not as important here. On classic, smooths out the signal more than. Okay, now let's introduce some clean and actually flip the polarity here. So it shifts some frequencies, and when you play with the blend, this might be very helpful to get maybe some nastier sound or a little bit more rounded up sound, whatever you please. It's really cool to have this option. Okay, and now let's find out how this pedal actually sounds. Well, it's an awesome distortion pedal, isn't it? We get some really cool distortion sounds out of it. When we are not in chainsaw territory, we can basically leave the grind at noon and toy around with the low mid, the presence, the bass, everything, and we get really cool distortion sounds that work wonderfully well in front of a clean amp, in front of a distorted amp, in the FX return, in front of a power amp. So really cool. When we go to HM2 territory, this thing changes to a whole another beast, and by simply adding the grind, it sounds really awesome. And we have a couple different options to tweak it even further. I especially like the cut control, although I might have preferred it to be a bit more drastic. But that's totally okay for me. You can always dial back the low. This is basically just the case if you want to use this as your preamp pedal, which I'm not. What I also like is the mid frag and the mid control, because the range of the mid frag is really tasty, because you can basically crank the mid and then really find out the honky frequency that you don't want to have. And when you have it, dial it back, and there you go. Awesome tone instantly. What's also cool is the modern classic switch. We get basically two different sounds. The modern is a bit more, sounds a bit more open, a bit more focused, and the classic is a bit more nasty, a bit more compressed actually. And that's cool. So we have two tones, whatever you like. The gate, of course, awesome gate. It's the key and gate basically here into this pedal, built into this pedal. Cool. Works really well even when we have an enormous amount of noise, as you could hear. And what I haven't tried yet, and will do future video, is the blend and the actual FX loop, where we can blend in some other pedals or simply just clean. And we even have the polarity switch. I think every pedal with an FX loop should have a polarity switch. Or even with a blend should have a polarity switch. Let's be honest here. So I highly suggest checking this pedal out. It's one of the best distortion, one of the best HM2 pedals I have tried. And if you want to do so, I have linked to the pedal down in the description. I think it was released 2 days ago, so you should buy it. And if you want to support this channel, you might want to check out the links in the description. I have some affiliate links, and you might want to consider becoming a YouTube member. It would clearly help the channel a lot. Well, and with this being said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, check out my Instagram. May the force be with you, and have a nice day.